She thought winning 9 million would set her free from her husband, but she forgot one tiny detail that cost her everything. Meet Nancy, a woman who worked multiple jobs, dreamed of freedom, and thought her quiet accountant husband Mark was holding her back. When she won 9 million, she saw her chance to escape. She filed for divorce, kicked him out, and celebrated her new life. But Mark had been playing chess while Nancy was playing checkers. What happened next shocked everyone, including Nancy herself. Before we dive into today's gripping story, we want to take a moment to appreciate you, our amazing subscribers, new viewers, and the incredible community that makes Moonlight Tales by Samzy so special. Your likes, shares, and thoughtful comments mean the world to us, and we're beyond grateful for your support. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're in for a ride filled with drama, suspense, and unexpected twists. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. And of course, drop a comment below. We love hearing from you, and your support keeps us going. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive right back into the story, because things are about to get even more intense. Mark and Nancy used to be happy. They would laugh together and hold hands. But now, everything felt cold and sad. Nancy worked 3 jobs. She served food at a restaurant in the morning. She cleaned offices at lunch. She worked at a store at night. Nancy was always tired and angry. "I'm home," Nancy would say, slamming the door hard. Mark would smile and run to hug her. "How was your day, honey?" Nancy would push him away. "Don't touch me. I'm sweaty and gross." Mark's heart hurt every time she did this, but he kept trying. At dinner, Mark made Nancy's favorite soup. He set the table with pretty candles. Nancy sat down and pulled out her phone. "The soup smells great," Mark said softly. Nancy didn't look up. She just typed on her phone. Her fingers moved fast, like she was talking to someone special. Mark ate alone, even though Nancy sat right there. "Want to watch a movie tonight?" Mark asked hopefully. "I'm busy," Nancy said, still looking at her phone. Later that night, Mark heard Nancy whispering in the bathroom. The door was closed, but he could hear her laughing quietly. "Who are you talking to so late?" Mark asked when she came out. "Just work stuff," Nancy lied, but her face was red, and she looked guilty. This happened every night. Nancy would disappear with her phone. She would smile at her screen but never smile at Mark. Mark tried harder. He left sweet notes in her lunch bag. Nancy threw them in the trash without reading them. He planned a picnic in the park. "We could watch the sunset," Mark said. "I don't have time for silly stuff," Nancy snapped. Mark's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't cry. He just nodded and put the picnic basket away. Nancy started coming home later and later. She smelled like different perfume. Her lipstick was always smeared. "Where were you?" Mark asked gently. "Don't be a baby, Mark. I can go where I want." Mark noticed everything. Nancy bought new pretty clothes but never wore them at home. She changed her phone password. She hummed happy songs, but only when she thought Mark wasn't listening. Mark loved Nancy so much. He wanted to fix their marriage, but Nancy's heart had already left their home. She was planning something. Mark could feel it, and it scared him. Nancy met Troy at her waitress job. He came in every Tuesday for coffee and pie. Troy wore nice suits and smelled like expensive cologne. He had white teeth and talked about business deals. "You're too smart to be just a waitress," Troy told Nancy one day. His eyes sparkled when he smiled. Nancy felt butterflies in her stomach. No one had called her smart in a long time. Troy said he could help Nancy start her own business. They began meeting at the coffee shop to talk about work plans. But Nancy's cheeks turned pink when Troy complimented her hair. Her heart beat fast when he touched her hand. At home, Nancy started looking in the mirror more. She bought red lipstick with money from her tip jar. She painted her nails bright purple. Mark noticed but said nothing. "Where did you get that pretty dress?" Mark asked at dinner. "Just found it on sale," Nancy lied. Her stomach felt sick when she lied, but she did it anyway. Nancy's phone buzzed all day with messages from Troy. She smiled reading them during her breaks. She hid in the bathroom to text him back with heart emojis. "I have to work late tonight," Nancy told Mark. Another lie. She was meeting Troy at a fancy restaurant across town. Mark cooked dinner and waited. Nancy came home at midnight. Her lipstick was gone. She smelled like Troy's cologne. Mark's heart broke a little more. "How was work?" Mark asked softly. "Fine. Just fine." Nancy couldn't look at his kind eyes. Mark found a receipt for expensive perfume in Nancy's purse. Nancy never bought perfume before. He saw her delete texts before he could read them. She changed her phone password. "Nancy, can we talk?" Mark tried one evening. "I'm busy," Nancy snapped, typing on her phone. She was telling Troy how much she hated being married. Mark watched his wife slip away like sand through his fingers. Nancy was already gone in her heart. She was just waiting for the right moment to leave for good. Nancy bought new underwear and hid it from Mark. She dreamed of running away with Troy. She made plans to divorce Mark even before the lottery ticket changed everything. The saddest part? Mark still loved her, but Nancy had chosen someone else. Mark was not just any husband. He was an accountant, which means he was very good with numbers and papers. More importantly, he was very good at noticing things. Every night after Nancy went to bed, Mark would sit at his small desk in the corner of their bedroom. The desk lamp made a warm, yellow circle of light. He would pull out a big manila folder and work very quietly, like a mouse. Mark had been watching Nancy for months. He saw how she smiled at her phone. He heard her whisper in the bathroom. He smelled different perfume on her clothes. His heart felt heavy and sad, but his mind stayed sharp and clear. "I need to protect myself," Mark whispered to himself one night. He opened his laptop and started typing. Click, 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 went the keyboard keys. Mark made copies of everything important. Their bank papers, their house papers, their marriage certificate. He even copied Nancy's work schedule to see when she was really at work and when she was lying. He put each copy in a different folder. He labeled them with his neat handwriting. Bank statements, house documents, marriage papers. Everything was organized perfectly, just like at his office job. The most important thing Mark did was call his old college friend, Avery. Avery was now a very smart lawyer who helped people with marriage problems. They met at a quiet coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday morning. The coffee shop smelled like warm bread and coffee beans. Rain tapped softly on the windows. "She's going to leave me, Avery," Mark said sadly, stirring his coffee with a small spoon. Avery leaned forward. He had kind eyes but a serious face. "What do you want to do about it?" "I want to be ready," Mark said. "I want to be smart about this." Avery nodded. "Tell me about your prenup." Mark pulled out a folder from his briefcase. Inside was their prenup, the paper they signed before getting married that said who gets what if they ever divorce. "Nancy signed this years ago," Mark explained. "She was in a hurry that day. She kept checking her phone and didn't read it carefully." Avery read the prenup slowly. His finger moved across each line. "This is pretty basic, Mark, but we can make it stronger." "How?" Mark asked. "We add a lottery clause," Avery said with a small smile. "If either of you wins money while you're still married, like from the lottery, you have to share it 50-50. Mark's eyes grew wide. "Can we do that?" "As long as Nancy agrees and signs it," Avery said. "The trick is making it seem like no big deal." Mark thought hard. Nancy bought lottery tickets every week at the corner store. She always said, "One day I'll win big and we'll be rich." 2 weeks later, Mark brought the updated prenup home. Nancy was painting her nails bright red at the kitchen table. The smell of nail polish filled the air. "Hey, Nancy," Mark said casually. "Avery helped me update our prenup for tax reasons. Nothing big, just some boring legal stuff. Can you sign it?" Nancy didn't even look up from her nails. "Whatever, Mark. Just tell me where to sign." She signed her name quickly, blowing on her wet nails. She didn't read a single word. Mark felt his heart beat faster. The lottery clause was now part of their marriage contract. Nancy had no idea what she just agreed to. From that day on, Mark watched and waited. He kept organizing papers. He kept copying documents. He kept meeting with Avery to plan. Nancy never noticed. She was too busy with her secret phone calls and her new boyfriend, Troy. Mark felt sad about his marriage ending, but he also felt proud of himself. He was being smart and careful. He was protecting his future. Good things come to those who wait, his grandmother used to say. Mark was learning this was very true. Nancy was tired after working 3 jobs all week. Her feet hurt from standing at the restaurant. Her hands were dirty from cleaning offices, but she stopped at the corner store like she always did. "1 scratch-off ticket, please," she told Mr. Kim behind the counter. Nancy sat in her old car and scratched the silver coating with a penny. Her heart started beating fast. The numbers matched. All of them. $9 million! She screamed so loud that people on the street looked at her car. Her hands were shaking. She couldn't breathe. Nancy had never seen so much money in her whole life. She felt like she was flying. Nancy grabbed her phone with trembling fingers. She wanted to tell someone right away. But instead of calling Mark, her husband who loved her, she called Troy. "Troy! Troy, I won! I won $9 million!" She yelled into the phone. "Are you serious, baby?" Troy's voice was excited and greedy. "We can be together now. I don't need Mark anymore," Nancy said, not caring who heard her. At home, Mark was making dinner for both of them. He set 2 plates on the table and waited. Nancy didn't come home until very late. She didn't even say hello. For 3 days, Nancy acted strange. She whispered on the phone in the bathroom. She looked at Mark like he was a bug she wanted to step on. Mark tried to ask, "Nancy, what's wrong? You seem different." "Nothing's wrong," she lied, but her eyes were cold as ice. Nancy was planning something mean in her head. She felt powerful with all that money. She thought she was smarter than everyone, especially Mark. On Friday night, Nancy threw some papers at Mark while he was watching TV. "What are these?" Mark asked, looking confused. "Divorce papers," Nancy said with a mean smile. "I'm leaving you, Mark. I won the lottery and I don't need you anymore." Mark's face turned white. His hands started shaking as he read the papers. "But Nancy, we're married. We love each other," Mark said quietly. Nancy laughed like it was a joke. "Love? I never loved you. You're just a boring man who sits at a desk all day. I have $9 million now. I can do whatever I want." Mark's eyes filled with tears, but Nancy didn't care. "Pack your stuff and get out of my house," Nancy said, pointing at the door. "This is our home, Nancy. We bought it together," Mark said sadly. "Not anymore. Everything is mine now. The house, the money, everything," Nancy yelled. She watched Mark put his clothes in boxes. His hands were shaking. Sometimes he stopped to wipe his eyes. "Hurry up! I want you gone before my friends come over to celebrate," Nancy said meanly. Mark looked at her one last time. "I thought you were a good person, Nancy." "Good people stay poor," Nancy said, slamming the door behind him. Nancy felt so smart and powerful. She called her friends and bragged about getting rid of Mark. "He was just holding me back," she told everyone. She bought expensive clothes and jewelry. She took pictures for social media showing off her money. "Look at me now," she posted online. "No husband to tell me what to do." But Nancy forgot something very important. When you're mean to people who love you, bad things happen. And Nancy was about to learn that being smart about money is different from being smart about life. She thought she had won everything, but really, she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Nancy walked into the courthouse wearing her new diamond earrings and expensive red dress. She felt like a queen. Her shiny high heels clicked loudly on the marble floor. She smiled big, thinking she was about to keep all her lottery money. "This will be easy," Nancy whispered to her lawyer. "Mark is just a boring accountant. He doesn't know anything about legal stuff." Mark sat quietly at his table. He wore his simple blue suit, the same one he wore to their wedding years ago. His hands were folded calmly in his lap. His lawyer friend Avery had a thick folder of papers ready. The old judge with gray hair and kind eyes looked at both sides. "Let's begin," he said in his deep voice. Nancy's lawyer stood up first. Your Honor, my client won this lottery money after she decided to divorce her husband. The money is hers alone. Nancy nodded her head fast. She felt so sure she would win. Then Avery stood up. He was calm and spoke clearly. Your Honor, I have something very important to show you. He pulled out the prenup papers that Nancy and Mark had signed years ago. This is just the prenup, Nancy said, rolling her eyes. It protects my money. But Avery smiled. Look at page 3, section 7. He pointed to some small words at the bottom. The judge put on his reading glasses. He read out loud, if either husband or wife wins money from gambling, lottery, or games of chance during the marriage, both people must share the winnings equally, 50-50. Nancy's face went white as snow. Her mouth dropped open. She grabbed the papers from her lawyer. No, 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 she said, her voice getting higher. I don't remember signing that. But you did sign it, Mrs. Nancy, the judge said, looking at her signature on the paper. This rule is very clear. You bought the lottery ticket while you were still married to Mark. Nancy's hands started shaking. Her perfect red lipstick was smudged because she kept biting her lip. Tears filled her eyes, but not sad tears, angry tears. Mark tricked me, she shouted. He's sneaky. The judge shook his head. No one tricked you. You signed this agreement. The law is the law. He banged his wooden hammer. I decide that Mark gets half of the $9 million. That's $4.5 million for each person. Outside the courthouse, news reporters with big cameras surrounded Nancy. Their bright lights made her squint. Mrs. Nancy, how do you feel about losing half your lottery money? One reporter asked. Nancy tried to cover her face with her purse. No questions, she cried, running to her car. But the reporters followed her. Did you really not read your own prenup? Another reporter called out. That night, Nancy's phone rang and rang, but not with good calls. Her best friend Sarah called first. Nancy, I saw you on the news. How could you be so mean to Mark? He seems like such a nice man. Sarah, you don't understand, Nancy started. I understand perfectly, Sarah said coldly. You got greedy and it backfired. Don't call me anymore. Click. Then her sister called. Nancy, Mom and Dad are embarrassed. The whole family is talking about how you treated Mark. Nancy cried into her pillow that night. The next morning, Troy didn't answer Nancy's calls. She drove to his office. Where's Troy? She asked his secretary. He moved to another city, the secretary said, not looking at Nancy. He said he had to start fresh somewhere new. Nancy felt like someone punched her in the stomach. Troy had promised to love her forever. But when her money got cut in half, he ran away like a scared rabbit. Nancy sat alone in her big house, counting her remaining money. $4.5 million was still a lot, but it felt empty now. She had lost her husband, her friends, her boyfriend, and her good name. She looked at an old photo of her and Mark smiling together. Back then, Mark looked at her like she was the most wonderful person in the world. Now she understood something important. Mark's quiet love had been worth more than all the lottery money in the world. But she had thrown it away for shiny things and a man who didn't really care about her. Nancy learned that being greedy and mean always comes back to hurt you. And sometimes, the person you think is weak is actually the smartest one of all.